I'm here with Rena, who will be exhibiting her business, our consultancy, on the online day of the 2023 Ealing Business Expo. So Rena, tell us a bit about the person behind our consultancy. What do you do and how long have you been trading for?
I've been a sole trader for 13 or more years now. I live in London. I'm Grenadian by descent. And I'm a qualified nurse for people with learning disabilities. Currently, I work as an academic. I work in a university. I support students. I do teaching of nurses and a number of different other disciplines. I'm also a Prince 2 qualified project manager. So I do help and assist with small to medium events. I'm a businesswoman, and at heart, I'm a community activist and a champion. I love people, love working with marginalized groups, and I'm really proud of my Caribbean heritage. I love contributing to historical and educational projects also.
What is your link to Ealing and the Ealing Business Expo?
I'm part of a group called Soca Saga Boys and another group called Windrush 19. And we are a carnival mass band. So we do music events, carnival events, costume events, and artistic events. And I'm linked to Ealing because I've been taking part, my groups have been taking part in Ealing Carnival for over 5 years now. And we've done the lockdown streamed events, which were very interesting. We've done the live processions. We've also been part of the Ealing Black History events, as well as some of the carnival exhibitions that Ealing have had over the years. The key thing I have to say about how I'm connected to Ealing is my link with Carleen Bender, who I met while I was doing the Black British Expo near the Houses of Parliament. And we bonded because we are Caribbean people, Caribbean women. So she naturally gravitated to me. And then we were also very keen networkers. So we were asking each other loads of questions about what we do, how we do it. She told me about the Ealing Business Expo and how it would be an excellent opportunity to show and network what I do. So we have worked on various projects together actually over the years. She's been involved in some of our carnival projects. And so it's been a great working relationship, and I can really recommend for those who are thinking about business in Ealing, get in touch with Carleen because she's got a wealth of experience and she's got so many useful connections. And I think that's one of her selling points. She can connect you up to people that you may not have heard of, you might not know what they do, and they might be really, really supportive to your business in Ealing.
What's the story behind the Grenadian cocoa butter? When and where did you launch and why did you want to launch it?
Yes, the story behind the Grenadian cocoa butter is a very personal one. I'm an eczema sufferer, and I suffered with eczema as a child quite severely. And growing up in the UK, you know, it's really hard to get natural products. So I spent many years on topical steroids and emulsifying washes. But when I went back to Grenada, as a child, I started to get hold of and use lots of natural products. One of them being cocoa fat. And it was so good for the skin. And, you know, it was an absolute lifesaver. If you can imagine a young child in a hot country, always scratching. And the cocoa butter was very, very soothing, as well as things like coconut oil and sulfur, which is also a natural occurrence in Caribbean islands. But of course, coming back to the UK, in the 70s and the 80s, it was really hard to get these products because you either had to have someone ship it over to you, or if somebody was coming up from the Caribbean, they would bring whatever they could. So, of course, went back to the steroids and the emulsifiers. And this really put a toll on my skin. It changed my skin color with prolonged use. It made the skin very thin. And in some reports, it's been caused to link to other long-term skin ailments. At the age of 16, I started going back to the Caribbean on my own independently without my parents. And I just started to stockpile the cocoa butter. Anytime I went to the Caribbean, I brought back loads of it. It was just for my personal use. And, you know, if a friend needed a bar, then I'd give them a bar. And it was always at the back of my mind, like, this has to be beneficial for other people because I'm getting such a good use out of it. And the point came in 2016 when I was made redundant. And rather than sort of wallowing in you know, woe is me, I thought this is the perfect opportunity to give the headspace I need to expand that part of my business. So that's when I went back to Grenada, started to make some useful contacts, business links, and started the process of shipping it over properly. So I decided to launch at one of the expos that was the biggest in my sector, and that was the Afro Hair and Beauty Show. I launched in 2017 and it was a major success. I actually sold out. I did not have enough cocoa butter to supply all the audience. And it was just a matter of giving people a sample. They tried it, they rubbed it on their skin, they could feel the quality straight away. And I've been doing those expos and those markets ever since.
What is one interesting fact about cocoa butter?
Many people don't realize that cocoa butter is a waste product of the chocolate making process. So in the Caribbean, cocoa was introduced to many of the islands, and this was through enslavement. So my ancestors used to process the cocoa by hand and by foot to dry the cocoa. And while the cocoa was drying, the oil would seep out of the cocoa bean, and then they would be heated and fermented. And again, that would release the oil. Now, the oil, once solidifies, makes cocoa butter. And this was discarded during enslavement times because the purest cocoa butter, as you know, is quite dark. So they remove a lot of the fat from it. And it was my ancestors that realized that the cocoa fat could be used in their hair, on their skin, used as oil to cook with, so nothing went to waste. So you can say that cocoa butter is almost recycling. We are recycling a waste product that was not seen as beneficial at that time. But another really useful fact, and something I'm even more proud of, is that the cocoa farming industry from my parish in Grenada called St. Mark's now co-own the very same plantation that my ancestors would have been working the cocoa on. They formed a cooperative with a German chocolatier, and they now teach young people the industry of cocoa and the farming and the processing. It brings finance into the borough, and they now have chocolate exported around the world. So it's turned full circle that something that was used to enslave my ancestors, we are now profiting from this same product and obviously using it for the benefit of the population and the parish. Beauty of pure Grenadian cocoa butter is that it is 98% pure and only 2% water. This means that the molecular structure is so tight it cannot harbor bacteria. So you could pass that bulk around the whole family. It will not pass on any germs. It will not go off, and it is absolutely remains solid at room temperature until it gets down to its very last pieces. And when it does get down to its last pieces, you can reheat it, pour it into a mold, and start using it all over again. So nothing goes to waste.
What other natural products do you sell?
So the other products that I've ventured into are things like soaps, natural soaps from St. Lucia. My best sellers are the sulfur soap, the glory cedar, which many people in the UK haven't heard of, and it's a plant grown in the tropics. So the glory cedar plant, as well as the neem and the sea moss and the Black Caribbean soap. These are very, very popular, and they can all be used as shampoo bars as well as soaps. Alongside that, I have other soaps in that range, things like papaya, coconut, cocoa butter as well. So there's a really big range in the St. Lucian soaps. The other product that I do import is copper wearables and copper drinking vessels. The reason behind that is because copper is a natural antiseptic. So copper is a natural antiseptic and antibacterial. So it purifies the water. So it really does give the internal system a great cleanse. It's also anti-inflammatory. So if you wear copper, just by having the trace copper elements seep into the skin, that helps with inflammation. So you sort of breathe out or excrete the excess water through your breath or through urine. The next product that I also import is a hemp cream and a hemp soap. The hemp soap is great because it's got the hemp oil in it, which gives you a really radiant skin complexion. And the hemp cream is really, really beneficial for arthritic or stiff, painful joints or muscular issues.
Do you offer any other services?
Starting back to my original trade within education, I do teaching projects, either one-off teaching sessions, or I do workshops. And these are mainly around people with learning disabilities, supporting their families and health-related issues. I project manage small to medium events that might be music events to do with the sound system, carnival events, or indeed an artistic group that I'm part of, Windrush 19, they put on the depiction of the Windrush generation. So we've had appearances in various places, carnivals, outdoor festivals, and so on. And we've put on an exhibition indoors in conjunction with the Hackney Archives with some Windrush carnival costumes.
How can people get in touch with you?
I am reachable through social media, so you can link me on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is info_consultancy1. I'm also on Facebook, and you can find me at Grenada Cocoa Butter on Facebook. You can also find me on Facebook at Our Consultancy Carnivals. My website, all the W's, ourconsultancy.org, and my email is info_ourconsultancy1@aol.co.uk.